Hello, my name is Deborah Haynes, and I am founder and owner of Be Vitalized and Energized Wellness Center. And I'd like to thank you for listening to my presentation today about how we can tame the flame. That is, how we can reduce inflammation in our bodies and live healthier lives for years to come. And so it's important to identify the different types of inflammation. There are actually two types of inflammation. One is acute inflammation, which is short-lived, and the other is chronic inflammation that seems to drag on and on. Well, acute inflammation is important. It's the way our body repairs damage. So we get injured and blood rushes to the area, it swells up, it becomes hot because there's blood sent to the area with all of these healing blood cells, and over a few days the body does its magic, and before long the swelling goes away and the injury is healed. Everything is repaired. We want that to happen. We want that kind of inflammation. But chronic inflammation is something else. So chronic inflammation is the process starts, but it doesn't stop. And it can be initiated by injury, it can be initiated by infection, or stress, or dehydration, or toxicities, or poor sleep. There's so many things that can contribute to inflammation, chronic inflammation. And so what we can do is identify the causative factors and then figure out ways that we can do things differently to mitigate chronic stress so we live healthier and happier lives. So first, let's talk about some of the things that we have control over, some things that we can do. So first of all, food can contribute to inflammation, certain foods like sugar, foods that you're allergic to, foods that like dairy products, like cow's milk is an excellent source of nutrition for baby cows, but it wasn't designed for human beings. And as a result, a lot of people have allergies. It may not be outward allergies to dairy products, but there are inward allergies to dairy products that manifest in the form of inflammation. Their joints are achy, their knees are achy, they have headaches. So one of the things we can do is remove some of these foods that can create inflammation. So refined sugars is a big culprit. Certain dairy products, unfortunately, and I love cheese, but cheese can create it because it's made of cow's milk. If you are addicted to cheese, you may want to focus on eating some of the hard cheeses and staying away from some of the softer cheeses. Also, butter is a good source of fat. Margarine, not. Did you know that they actually developed margarine with the intent to fatten up turkeys so that the turkeys would get nice and fat and be nice and juicy by Thanksgiving? Well, guess what? The turkeys wouldn't have anything to do with it. They were like, I'm not eating that stuff. So what did they do? Give it to humans. Tell them it's better than butter. No, butter is the choice. Leave the margarine alone. There's also something called ghee. It's spelled Ghee. It's a form of clarified butter. All of the milk solids have been removed. So, some other foods that can cause inflammation are grains. Certain grains are treated with pesticides and insecticides. You eat the grains, your body becomes inflamed because of those toxic chemicals. Breads, rices, pastas, wheat products, some of those things will create inflammation in the body. Now, I'm not saying that you have to take all of this stuff out of your diet, but what I am suggesting is you start being more mindful of what you're putting into your body and how your body is responding to it. See, the one thing about inflammation is sometimes you feel it. Your joints will ache, you will have headaches, you can't sleep, you're irritable, and sometimes you can't even feel it. You can always go to your doctor and ask your doctor to test you for inflammation. There is a test called a C-reactive protein. That's a C-reactive protein, CRP. It's a great measure of inflammation. And if you have that test done and your levels are sky high, whether or not you feel it or not, you got inflammation. And so remember the word inflammation. When you break it down, it's inflamed. And that means if you're inflamed, your body is on fire. And you've got to put that fire out because damage is being done day after day after day. So whenever you can, eat organic. Whenever you can, stay away from the refined sugars, the breads, the pastas, the pastries, the rices, the grains, unless you can get it organically grown. So let's talk about water. Now, the rule of thumb is that we should all be drinking 1/2 our body weight in ounces daily within a 24-hour period. I'm 150 pounds. I should be drinking 75 ounces of water every day. Water is so important to help flush our bodies of toxins and help with the detoxification process. But remember, our bodies are mostly made up of water. And when you think about the oil in your car, when that oil gets too low, the car doesn't work right. When the hydration in your body gets too low, your body doesn't work right. And as a result, you have inflammation. So make sure that you're hydrating well every day. And it's amazing because some people will say, well, the reason why I don't drink a lot of water is because I don't want to have to stop by a public bathroom. Okay. Consider what you're doing to your body. Make a way for your body to be healthy. You might just have to come up with some alternative ideas, but get your water in. The other thing is sleep. Now, I'm not just talking about sleep. I'm not talking about playing on your computer until 12 or 1 o'clock and then you fall off to sleep and you have 4, 5, 6 hours of sleep and get up and everything's fine and dandy. No, I'm talking about getting into that deep delta sleep. Delta sleep is slow wave sleep. It's when the brain is pulsing at its slowest pulse. So we have different brainwave states. So when we're awake and alert, our brain is pulsing. We're in high beta, we're in beta, we're in alpha, and then theta is when the brain starts slowing down and we're somewhere between being awake and somewhere between being asleep. We're kind of like in that dreamlike state. And then we get down to delta, and the brain is pulsing at its slowest point. That's when we get out of the way. The body is still in the bed. And then these amazing healing processes start taking place in the body. Like 80% of our growth hormone is secreted only when we're in delta sleep. Or how about DNA repair all over the body, but only when we're in delta sleep? Or the immune system is boosted, or our glandular system is boosted, our thyroids, our adrenal glands are boosted, but only when we're in that deep delta sleep. And one of the most important is when we get to that deep delta sleep, there are certain cells in our brain that shrink down in size to allow increased flow of cerebral spinal fluid to wash away amyloid plaques and waste and toxins that have built up during the day. And when we start waking up and coming out of that deep delta sleep, those cells swell up again. But we wake up with a clear head. All the trash is washed away. Our brain has been detoxed. The inflammation is gone. But if that doesn't happen, if you don't get to that deep delta sleep, those cells never shrink up to allow that cerebral spinal fluid to wash out the toxins, and the same amyloid plaque and toxins that you go to bed with, you wake up with. You're irritable, you may have brain fog, and when this happens over and over and over and over again, eventually that brain becomes very toxic, and it provides the groundwork for you developing neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, Parkinson's. We don't want that. We have to learn how to access that amazing healing property that only occurs when we get into deep delta sleep. If you're interested in learning how you can do that, please call me and we'll have that conversation, because there are ways. In the interim, put the cell phone down, put the paperwork aside, give yourself at least 8 hours to go to sleep and sleep through the night. Okay, that's very important. One of the other things that we can do to help reduce inflammation in our body is something called grounding or earthing. It is simply connecting to the earth. Going outside and putting your bare foot in the ground. Good way to ground. Studies have shown that immediately when you connect with the earth, inflammation in your body starts subsiding. Isn't that amazing? So with the weather turning cold, it may be a little difficult to do that. So there are technologies like grounding mats that you can bring into your home, hook it to a grounding outlet, and ground while you're inside. Again, if you're interested in knowing about the technology or accessing the technology, I'm happy to share that information with you. But go outside, touch a tree, just touch it. You don't have to hug it. Just touch a tree. Allow the energy that we get from nature to help sustain us, to help provide essential energy to our body to help reduce inflammation. So grounding is important. One of the other things is proper detoxification. Now, believe it or not, I have friends and family members that will say, well, I only have a bowel movement once every 3 or 4 days, and that's normal for me. I've been like that all my life. And I tell them lovingly, that's something that you might want to change now. And one of the reasons I share that with them is because, okay, let's just make this visual, okay? Let's take a a black bag, a black plastic bag, and let's put our dinner scraps in it, okay? I've got some chicken and some salad and whatever in there, and I'm going to tie it up and I'm going to put it out in the sun, okay? So really what I've done was I've created the food that I put in my stomach, the dinner scraps, in a warm, dark place, and I'm leaving it there for 3 or 4 days. But I'm leaving my bag out in the sun, okay? So 1 day goes by, 2, 3, 4 days go by. Let me go get the bag. Let me open it up and let me look and see what's in it. What do you think? It's going to be putrid. It's going to be moldy. It's going to be nasty. It's going to stink. It's going to be rotten. That's what happens if you're not clearing food from your body. So it doesn't matter if that's been going on all your life. You want to change it now. You want to clear the food so it doesn't have a chance to rot inside of you. So detoxification is key. And one of the things that will help support that process is making sure that you're well hydrated, because it will help flush your system. Okay, so we're getting close to that magic number. So a quick review. Things that you can do. Be mindful of your eating and what you put in the body. Be mindful of your sleep and give yourself time to sleep. Be mindful of making sure that you're hydrating well so you're flushing your system. Make sure that you're properly eliminating on a regular basis. And one of the things that you can do if you suffer with constipation or you have poor gut health, start drinking before you go to bed a cup of green tea with about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of coconut oil in it. Mix it up and drink it down. In the morning time when you wake up, get a bottle of warm water or room temperature water. You can put a little lemon in it if you choose. And just chug it down. Turn it up and chug it down. And what you want to do is you want to start that wave of peristalsis, which is when you swallow, you start a wave-like motion throughout your digestive tract that starts pushing food forward so you can get rid of it. And give yourself ample time to sit and have a BM. Eliminate, get rid of those toxins. Don't let them rot inside of you. Okay? So detoxification. And we also didn't talk a lot about stress, but stress is a biggie. I'm just going to encourage you to come to my center and learn some ways to de-stress. So those are some of the things that we can do. But some of the other things that lead to inflammation include your cell phones. You should turn them off at night. Your Wi-Fi in your home, you should turn it off at night. Exposure to computers and laptops and all those things, all of that wireless energy is toxic to the body, and it can also contribute to tons of inflammation in the body. Now, some of it we can avoid. Some of it we can avoid because it's just kind of the world that we live in. So it really behooves us to do all we can to mitigate and diminish the amount of inflammation, chronic inflammation in our bodies. And with that, I'd like to bring this to a close and again invite you to come out to the center and just see what we have here and see if anything fits for you. Again, my name is Deborah Haynes. I am a registered nurse and have been in this wellness space for many, many years. and I pray you health and vitality for many years to come. Thank you for listening.